We actually just got the ban list finally, and they really wanted Snake Eyes to be tier 0. Just seeing this one image already tells us everything that we need to know about Snake Eyes as a deck. And the answer is it's gonna be absolutely crazy, especially post Rage of the Abyss when we get the new Azumina cards that are already destroying the OCG. Okay, so let's go down the cards one by one and see exactly what the heck we're dealing with for the next 3 months. In fact, until the end of the year, I imagine, because we're not getting banlist till probably January. Beastmas Lacrima, this is obviously unanimously great. Everyone would have agreed that this is a great ban. It's way too busted of a card, does too much. You can special summon from the graveyard or the banished or add something back. And most importantly, the fact that it burns for 1200 was just absolutely crazy in a combo heavy format where combos can take up to 15-20 minutes even to fulfill. And then of course you just, go into time, game 3, your opponent does Lacrima, burn you for 12 and you lose. So it's great that they banned this card, and it's actually surprising because, we only got Fiendsmith stuff for what, like a month, maybe like 5 or 6 weeks. The fact that they hit this almost makes me think, in tandem with the fact that the ban list was so delayed, is that maybe there was some internal politics going on with Konami Japan not approving of the hits that they had. Maybe they really had to fight for Lacrima being banned because they rarely hit cards that just came out. I think the only other instance I can think of was maybe when the Super Heavy Samurai Link Monster got banned, and that wasn't even a new card. That was just like a card that was part of the degenerate combos that were enabled by the newer Super Heavy Samurai cards. So the fact that they actually hit Lacrima, which is a brand new card, is honestly insane to me, and I'm glad they did it. But the deck can still make Desiree, it can still use Aerial Eater, which we got, so it's not like Yugioh really lost anything. Appaloosa really needed to go. Really happy about this one. This should have been banned alongside Baron de Fleur and the Savage Dragon. It's just way too powerful of a negate that can be easily crafted to then make it so you're insulated against future hand traps like Nibiru being the main one. Like, the other player doesn't have an answer to Appaloosa, the game is just over, right? Because Appaloosa is always negating at least 2 cards. It's always like a 2-for-1, at the very minimum. It's very, very annoying. If you don't have the out, you are not winning. And I'm glad this card saw the axe. It makes it so like decks like Snake Eyes are not as resilient to Nibiru, which is like huge, right? Because part of the issue was that you need multiple hand traps with Nibiru in order to stop them from making an end board. So I think now with Appaloosa banned, maybe the Snake Eyes, until the Azumina stuff comes out where we get another Omni Negate, you kind of have to play in a safe way, maybe passing on a mediocre board, but banking on like having hand traps to defend that. And if they do nib, you can still take advantage of Tempo or maybe Flamberge Dragon and then make another board. So maybe playing like multiple SP Little Knight, for example, or IPs or something like that. Hot Red being banned. Okay, this one should have happened ages ago. This card is just auto win. It's just like VFD. It's just way too busted. Should not have been printed, honestly. And the fact that it works with Crimson Dragon was just annoying. So now people in Centurions will probably play the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, maybe multiples, just like in the OCG. Really glad that they hit this card. Beatrice needed to go like originally a long time ago. So these are all great hits, guys. Like, Beatrice is just way too powerful, being able to search your deck generically for any card, and not just once per turn, but once on your opponent's turn as well. So in decks like Tearlaments, which is obviously way too busted. With the Vinsmith stuff, it's way too busted. So these needed to go. Cards that they're missing, I would have said Skill Drain. I would have wanted to see that ban, period. Ideally, Runic Fountain. I think that card should have just like left the building because it's just way too annoying. Just a card that does way too much and enables a very boring strategy. It's just not very interactive and fun to play against, to be honest. If they're drawing multiple cards off of that, and the fact that Runic Stun's still a deck makes me a little apprehensive. And obviously I feel like Sanctifier should have been on there. I think a lot of people agree. It's just very annoying having to deal with the Gimmick Puppet. And then of course some kind of Snake Eye cards, maybe a combination of Flamberge and or original Simple Spoils. I would have liked to see it gone, but I guess they're just not allowed to hit it because we're getting new Azumina stuff, so they have to keep pushing the cards because we're getting new lore for Snake Eyes. D-Shifter is another card that's been missing from the past couple of ban lists, but I think it's universally accepted now that Konami's just not going to hit that card. And the thing I realized is that Shifter is a key card that lets a worse player actually win a duel. And one thing that's very disheartening for newer players who come over the game from like Master Duel is when they constantly lose because of how complicated the game is. So having an auto win wild card in the format basically allows worse players and newer players to actually have a chance. And unfortunately, the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh community has to suffer for that. So I think they're just never going to hit that card in the TCG. They would have semi-limited it by now if it was an issue in their eyes, but obviously they have not. So it's just going to be at 3 forever, and we have to deal with it and adapt. Which, I guess from a newer player's perspective, it kind of makes sense because you don't want to start playing a game and just lose every single duel when you start playing in real life. So the limits, we started off with Ava. That's a really obscure one. I know it was very powerful in Drytron, so I'm not sure if there are other strategies that can take advantage of Ava. I know it was unbanned in the OCG for some time, so like they've had it for a long time. It hasn't really done anything. So it's not like the card is insanely broken. It might boost some strategies, I don't know, like rogue agents or something, give them a little bit of toys to play with, so it's not like the end of the world. I guess the power level is a lot higher than when it was actually busted back in the day with Drytron. Snake Eye Ash and Snake Eye Poplar. So Ash, I would have rather seen this obviously just banned, because we already know from Master Duel and OCG the fact that Ash is at 1, the deck is still insanely good. Poplar, it makes a little more sense, because now if you draw the Poplar, the Ash is just like dead, right? Because you can't lead off with Ash because you're not searching for anything. So kind of have to normal summon the Poplar. So it's just like a abysmal draw. They made it so it's like a brick. So I kind of like that. I mean, this is part of the reason why the Snake Eye strategy was so resilient, because this is a free extender that also doubles up as a card that you can send off of like Original or Ash/Oak for Flamberge. So it's good that they hit this, but I think there needed to be some more significant hits to Snake Eyes. Number 40, Gimmick Puppet of Strings, and C40 Dark Strings. So those were the cards that were involved in the FTK, with the Gimmick Puppets being able to burn. So I'm glad they kind of hit this. I mean, the deck was just not really doing anything, so I'm surprised they actually decided to go and tackle these cards. They were not that big of an issue, but again, you know, it's a glass cannon. You can still lose to this FTK, and it's just really uninteractive. You don't have any hand traps, so I'm glad they hit it. I mean, just get that out of the equation, really. Branded Fusion, honestly, this probably should have been limited a long time ago, but I think Sanctifier being banned would have just been a way better thing to do, and then just keep Branded Fusion, because we don't really care about Branded if they're not Gimmick Puppet locking, right? If they're just playing fair Branded with the crazy end board, that's fine. Yes, the end board is very good, but it's no different than like a Snake Eye or a Yugioh end board where they have multiple disruptions. You kind of have to play through it or use hand traps to stop them. They were already kind of volatile with Bystials and Ash Blossom, so I'm not really sure why they didn't hit the Sanctifier Dragon or at least the Gimmick Puppet. I'd rather deal with Idol the Magical Force. At least I can tribute summon over it or get rid of it, but I mean, Gimmick Puppet, you just can't do anything to it, right? So interesting choice there. Opening the Spirit Gates, I guess they were just not allowed to hit Yubel, because Phantom, you know, obviously being one card that has a huge target on its back, but it just came out, so they can't really do anything. So I guess you could hit Opening the Spirit Gates. It doesn't really do anything because they still just max out on like the Dark Beckoning Beast that can search the Chaos Summoning Beast, and it's just like the same thing. So I don't think Yubel is hit at all on this list. Pot of Prosperity should have been 1 ages ago. The card's just way too powerful. It went to 1 in the OCG a long time ago. So this also allows the other pots to kind of shine. Maybe decks want to play the Pot of Extravagance alongside the Prosperity, or maybe even Desires for that matter in a deck like Tempai, but also risk getting Sengen Summoning, which is the next card that's limited to 1, being banished. But I think this card should have been 1. It's just way too powerful. It does way too much. It allows the deck to be super degenerate because you can't interact. And the worst part about multiple Sengen Summonings was when you went like IP into SP, banish the Sengen Summoning, and they just go activate a second one, and you're like, I couldn't do anything. Your Sengen Summonings just became like non-engine. It traded with my IP. So it's good that they hit that. The Grass is Greener is really, really crazy. It's weird because this is the type of card that's very, very sacky, but now it is a modern day power level. Makes it so the Grass is Greener is not any different than a card like Branded Fusion, right? Because you're just like, you know, milling a bunch of cards. You also have to play 60, so that's tough. Yes, you can search it off cards like Triple Tactics Thrust, but that's only if they're going second, because you're able to add it to your hand. And then there are cards like Left Hand Offering, which I think is like very, very like super risky. You know, just get hit by an Ash Blossom, you lose. So it's cool that we're enabling like some other strategies like Infernoid or maybe like some kind of zombie builds. I guess it's all right. I always like when they make big changes, when they bring stuff back so people can experiment, you know, draw some hype. I will say that the one thing that really concerns me about that Grass Looks Greener actually coming back is in the past week or so, there were a lot of rumors of this card coming back, and people were actually buying it on TCG Player, which really goes to show, I mean, this happens almost every ban list, but this one in particular was quite blatant, that some people actually have insider information. So whether it's some kind of vendors or someone working for Konami that had access to the ban list ahead of time, they knew about this and they started buying that Grass Looks Greener, which then trended the price upwards. So people caught on TCG Player. They're like, oh, okay, people are buying this card for whatever reason. Maybe it's coming back, and it did come back. So I think some people are doing insider trading, guys. Just like, it's kind of crazy. So you never know. If you hear a rumor in the future before a ban list drops, maybe just listen to your gut and pick up that card. Skill Drain to 1 is great. I would have liked to see this card get banned, period. But I mean, I guess, you know, hit it to 1 is not as consistent. It's just very, very annoying to deal with. Now it's kind of the most sacky 1-up card. If like Snake Eyes deck draws it going first, they flip it on you, you're like, oh, boo-hoo, I don't have an out, right? So I don't really like it being at 1. Just like Anti-Spell, those cards should be banned. But whatever. I mean, for now, it's better than at 3. It was just too much of a menace. So the semi-limits were a little interesting. All the Dragon Rulers coming back just like they were on the OCG. That's not going to do anything. It just like lets people play with it for like the first couple of days of the ban list before they realize they've been completely power crept. It's funny to see that Dragon Rulers and spellbooks are almost max power again, as they were literally 11 years ago, but obviously the game's just a whole different ball game now, so it's not anything close to what they once were, but it's cool. I mean, Tidal's quite nice for potentially Mermos or Atlanteans that are coming out in Rage of the Abyss, so you get some toys to play with. I mean, Blaster is nice for fire decks. Maybe you want to side deck this for getting rid of floodgates or something along the lines. There are a lot of usage for these cards, maybe as creative text, so that's kind of cool. Luna Light Tiger was already at 1, did nothing. This card's already been power crept years ago, so no point really talking about that. Thunder Dragon Colossus, I don't like this card because it just enables degenerate end boards every now and then, but I don't think there's a huge change between this card being at 1 or a 2 or a 3, because all the decks that do play this as an end board piece probably only play the 1, right? So having 2 might help out like the Thunder Dragon deck. Maybe in the future they get some support. It just makes it so they can play a little more. I'm surprised it went to 2 and not 3, but I guess Konami was kind of scarred by the triple Colossus end boards back in the day. If the World Chalice Justiciar, same kind of deal. It's been power crept. No point really talking about it. And then Unlimited, Armageddon Knight, okay. Red Rose Dragon, fine. Magispectre Unicorn is fine as well. Pendulums are not doing anything without Electromite. Flash Fire, same kind of deal. They errated it as well, so it's just once per turn now. Ancient Fairy Dragon was errata. Danglong has not been doing much, and Time Seal has not been doing anything. So these Unlimits are rather tame. Overall, the ban list, I will say I'm pretty disappointed. It's very underwhelming in terms of Snake Eye hits. We just didn't get any significant Snake Eye hits. I really wanted to see something banned like Flambirch or Original, and once the Azumina stuff drops, the deck's gonna be insane. So I think all the wanted like Simple Spoil stuff is gonna go up again now that people realize it's gonna be a really powerful deck. And also Yugioh is still really powerful. They only lost opening the Spirit Gates, and that's not really a big deal at any means. And Tenpai is also very, very good. So we know this because we've looked at the OCG. I actually think Snake Eyes is stronger in the TCG than the OCG because we have 3 wanted, even though they have 3 copies of Poplar. And we know that the Tenpai deck is very good with 1 second summoning in the OCG because they also get some new hand traps in the next set. They get Furos as well as the new Dominus Impulse. Very, very powerful cards that still makes the deck tier 1. So those 3 decks are still gonna be really, really good. I think Snake Eyes and Tenpai are gonna be the 2 very, very dominant decks next format, followed by Yugioh as a close third. What do you guys think? Was this worth the wait? The community was in uproar for the past like 2 to 3 weeks, you know, like the horse memes and everything. But guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.